Hello everyone and welcome into Coach Craig's Sports. This is the MLB DFS Core Pick video for Wednesday, July 23rd. If you're joining me for the very first time, first of all, welcome in. Second of all, this is how today's video will be structured. We'll be going over my core picks. It's going to be 5 players in total. It's going to be 1 pitcher, 4 hitters. It's going to be based on a combination of past performance versus their respective opponent, as well as some recent history. And then after that, we'll get moved over to my cheat sheet and talk about my top GPP teams to stack for Wednesday's slate overall. And then in the morning, I'll have my early morning weather report. They'll have any game that does have a double-digit chance of rain or higher. And I will be listing as many of these starting lineups as I can get to throughout the afternoon and early evening. So definitely make sure that you are checking up down that comment section so that you do have the most up-to-date information as possible. But without further ado, we'll get right into the core picks. We're going to start off at that pitcher position with Jesus Luzardo. He's $9,700, averaging over 32 fantasy points per game on the season. Goes against the Boston Red Sox for Wednesday's slate. And he has good but limited history versus them in the past. However, he did not pitch against them in 2024, so it's been a little while since he's faced some of these hitters. If we look at what he's done so far on the season in totality, 8 wins. ERA is up to 4.29 at this point in time. There's a couple blow-up starts in there, so maybe a little bit more risk than we've seen earlier on in the season from him. But once again, still averaging over 32 fantasy points per game at $9,700. If you don't want to play him, you can also look at Max Fried at $9,600, but he's been dealing with the blister issue, so maybe he's a little bit more risky at the same time as well. Then we move down to our hitters. We're going to start off with Yandy Diaz of the Tampa Bay Rays. He's $3,200, averaging just under 11 fantasy points per game, going against the Chicago White Sox. Jonathan Cannon is the expected starting pitcher for this White Sox team. Yandy Diaz has not faced him in the past before, but if we look at what Yandy Diaz has done as of late, he is at least 1 hit in 6 out of his last 7 games, 3 multi-hit games, 2 home runs, 4 double-digit performances during that time span. Definitely do like what he's been doing as of late. And if we take a look at what he's done so far on the season, 290 batting average, 16 home runs, 58 RBIs, once again averaging just under 11 fantasy points per game at $3,200. Then we're going to move down to second base with Angel Martinez of the Cleveland Guardians. You can also play him in the outfield since he has dual versatility. He's $2,900, averaging just over 8 fantasy points per game on the season. Goes against the Baltimore Orioles, and Zach Eflin is the expected starting pitcher for them. He is coming off the IL. I believe he was dealing with a back injury, so we'll see how effective he is in his first start back. But Angel Martinez is 1 for 3 with 1 home run versus him in his career. He's on a modest 5-game hitting streak, 4 multi-hit games during that time span, 1 home run, and 4 double-digit performances. So he's been doing really well as of late. He's up to a .254 batting average, 9 home runs, 38 RBIs, once again averaging over 8 fantasy points per game at $2,900. Then we're going to move down to shortstop with Trey Turner at $3,600, averaging just under 11.5 fantasy points per game on the season. And he goes against the Boston Red Sox. Lucas Giolito is the expected starting pitcher for that Red Sox team, and he is 2 for 4 with 2 home runs versus Lucas Giolito in his career. He has at least 1 hit in 4 out of his last 5 games, only 1 multi-hit game during that time span, 0 home runs, and 2 double-digit performances. So as of late, he's been more of that kind of like solid, steady Eddie type where he hasn't really had the upside, but if you can get the upside out of him in a matchup where he does have decent history in the past, definitely do like the upside of Trey Turner just in general. And on the season, he has a .288 batting average, 11 home runs, 41 RBIs, once again averaging just under 11.5 fantasy points per game at $3,600. And then last but not least, we move down to the outfield with Giancarlo Stanton, $3,200, averaging over 10 fantasy points per game on the season. He is going against the Toronto Blue Jays. Chris Bassett is the expected starting pitcher for them. He is 2 for 4 versus Chris Bassett in his career. And if we look at what Giancarlo Stanton's done as of late, he has at least 1 hit in 5 out of his last 6 games, 1 multi-hit game during the time span, 2 home runs, and 5 double-digit performances. So he's played really well since returning from the IL. Not a lot of multi-hit games, but a lot of solid 1-hit games where he's getting at least double-digit points. So definitely do like the upside of him. Obviously, the home run potential is always there. If we look at what he's done so far in the brief season, .271 batting average, 5 home runs, 17 RBIs. Once again, averaging about 10 fantasy points per game at $3,200. But with that being said, if you go with the 5 players that I do currently have listed, you have $12,400 remaining, $3,100 remaining per player, so looking a little bit more like a balanced build type of day. Obviously, it's a smaller slate, so feel free to get creative. Definitely a good slate to mix and match at that pitcher position, as well as some stacks, especially when there isn't quite as many standout stacks as we would typically see on like a larger slate. But with that being said, we'll give it over my cheat sheet and talk about my top GPP teams to stack for Wednesday slate overall. So like I just mentioned, a lot of these teams aren't going to truly stand out, so definitely feel free to mix and match as you do see fit. But we're going to start off with the Tampa Bay Rays. They're going against Jonathan Cannon of the Chicago White Sox. Very limited history versus him in the past. Definitely do like the upside of this Rays lineup. And they are a team that typically hits right-handed pitching pretty well. Then we move over to the Guardians. They're going against Zach Eflin. As I mentioned when we were talking about Angel Martinez in the core picks, Zach Eflin is returning from IL. I believe it was a back injury that hampered him. So we'll see how effective he is in his first start back. He's kind of one of those pitchers, a little bit more hit or miss just in general. The Guardians don't have a long track record versus him, but definitely do like the upside that their lineup could potentially have for Wednesday overall. And then last but not least, we have the Philadelphia Phillies as they go against Lucas Giolito. A good amount of their hitters have hit him pretty well in the past, whether that is Trey Turner, Max Kepler. Those are going to be the two big ones, as well as Bryce Harper. So definitely do like the upside there. Lucas Giolito is essentially a two-pitch pitcher with fastball changeup, and if one of those pitches is not working, that's typically when he runs into some more trouble. But with that being said, these are my core picks as well as top GPP teams to stack for Wednesday, July 23rd. As always, if you have any questions related to MLB DFS, be sure to drop them down in the comment section below, and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. And then once again in the morning, I'll be listing my early morning report that will have any game that does have a double-digit chance of rain or higher. And then I will also be listing as many of these starting lineups as I can get to throughout the afternoon and early evening. So definitely make sure that you are checking up down in that comment section so that you do have the most up-to-date and relevant information, especially as we do head into lock. But with that being said, if you're brand new to my channel, checking out for the very first time, or have yet to subscribe, please consider doing so. Definitely would appreciate it. Helps to build the community that we're trying to build here at Coach Craig Sports, which is one that's truly for you, the viewers, helping you with your DFS. Right now, we have MLB DFS in terms of the core pick video, typically Monday through Friday. Obviously, I did miss Monday and Tuesday this week. Do once again apologize for that. Hopefully you guys were still able to use the cheat sheet for Monday's slate as well as some of the notes up on Patreon, and then notes for free on Tuesday's slate. So hopefully that helped you guys out. Once again, do definitely apologize for that. And then I do have my CFL DFS video coming out once a week, typically on Wednesdays, so definitely on the lookout for that if that's something you're into as well. And then last but not least, if you're interested in sports betting, if you're interested in prop betting, be sure to check out the links and promo codes down in the description below for BetUS and Prize Picks. If you're a brand new user to either one of those sites, when you sign up, make your initial deposit, you will get a first match deposit bonus. For Prize Picks, it's a 100% match up to $100. And then for BetUS, it's a 125% match up to $2,000. So some pretty great opportunities to be had out there. If you have any other additional questions related to that whatsoever, feel free to reach out to me, whether it's down in the comment section of this video or on Twitter at Coach Craig Sport, and be more than happy to help you with that journey as well. But with that being said, that's all that I truly have for today's video. Definitely do appreciate each and every one of you tune in. Definitely means a lot to me. I hope that each and every one of you have a great rest of your day and some pretty good luck in MLB DFS for Wednesday, July 23rd.